I hope you are enjoying the conference. I certainly am, and I'm wearing my Florence Nightingale badge with pride. But before we begin the final day, I want to talk to you about a subject that is important to me, important to the Royal Statistical Society, and to the discipline of statistics as a whole. And that is what we can do to fight racism and discrimination and to promote equality, diversity, and inclusion. Over the past months, I've been deeply moved by the Black Lives Matter protests that have taken place in the US and subsequently around the world. I am so saddened by the deep and damaging injustices that have caused them. I live in central Westminster in London, so I saw firsthand the huge strength of feeling here, the people turning out from all sorts of society. Personally, I didn't join those protests because of COVID. I'm a director of a school of public health and I have personal risk factors, so it just didn't make sense. But I did think about what response I could make and what response the Royal Statistical Society could make. In June, after reflecting carefully, and especially after realising just what a key role statistics has to play, I made a statement that some of you will have read, some of you may not have seen it. And I said in that statement that I wanted to make equality, diversity, and inclusion a real priority for the rest of my presidency. So today, I'm taking this opportunity to set out the steps that we're taking and will take to make this a reality. And crucially, I want to invite you to join me because I cannot do this alone. There are 4 areas I would like to focus on. The first of these is promoting diversity and inclusion among the statistical community and the Society's membership. The second is to promote diversity and inclusion in the Society's staff and operations. The third is to discuss the historical relationship between statistics and racism and discrimination, and to confront the malign role that statistics has sometimes played. And fourthly, to look at how we can make better use of statistics today to tackle racism and discrimination and to build a better future. So let me say a little about each of these in turn. First of all, our membership. We've been working on this for a while, but it is so important that the community of statisticians should be inclusive and welcoming and reflect the diversity of the society that we serve. We know we have more work to do in this respect, not least at RSS headquarters, if I can call it that. And we've put in place a new membership database that will allow us to understand properly the ethnic diversity of the Society's members. If we can't collect good data about our membership, then goodness knows who can. And we want to work to increase further the diversity of members taking on leadership roles in the Society, those involved in its sections and local group, and among our award winners and grant recipients. And I'll finish by saying something that you can do to help with that. So the second point, the Society's staff and operations will also be changing. And again, this is an area we have been working on before the recent events in June. Last year, we embarked on a benchmarking process with other learned societies to understand the shortcomings in our processes. A staff working group is now acting on those recommendations, from making our events more inclusive to changing our staff recruitment processes to reduce the risk of discrimination. And I hope that going online. It was for other reasons, but one of the byproducts is it does actually make this much more accessible and inclusive. I think the third point is the most difficult territory, but it's time we assessed, again, the history of statistics as a discipline. We had Angela Sarne's brilliant keynote talk at this conference on Tuesday, and that drew attention to the connections between some of the founding figures of the field of statistics with eugenics and racism. To some of you, this may have been quite new. To others, you'll recognise it as a long-running debate. And my first task as president last year was to submit our response to the UCL inquiry in that area. Now, I'm not proposing, in fact, I'm trying not to give my views today at all. I'm trying to indicate how we're taking this forward. But I wouldn't want to propose that statisticians stop using analysis of variance because of Ronald Fisher's vocal support for eugenics and racist views of genetics. You may be moving on to fancy hierarchical methods for other reasons. But people have been thinking how to distinguish between the work and the man. Rothamsted have recently proposed, and I think they've done it, renaming Fisher Court Anavar Court. So it recognises the work but not the man. There's been a Twitter discussion from statisticians who suggested perhaps we don't use that very famous Fisher's Iris dataset because it was published in the Annals of Eugenics, and maybe we should be using some others. There's been a campaign, which was successful, to rename the Fisher Lecture. The language that's being used now is that we retire some of these lectures and maybe have other ones instead. Now, I know that there are strongly held views on this, and one of my pleas is that we try to have, it'll be a robust debate, but constructive debate, that we hold respect for those who've got very different views on this than ourselves. But it is right that we are mindful about what we commemorate. And the signal that we are sending to those who are working in statistics today or considering doing so is just so important. To advance this debate, and it will be a debate, the Society will be running a series of events over the coming year to discuss aspects of the history of statistics, both good and bad, and crucially, what they mean for diversity and inclusion today. The first of those events will take place in Members Week, which is the week of the 19th of October. And we will be looking at the relationship between distinguished statisticians of the past and historic racism. The final area of focus, and it's probably the one I want to give most energy to, is the role that statistics can play in fighting racism and discrimination in the present day. We've seen some powerful examples of this at conference. Roger Halliday gave a fascinating talk on how the Scottish Government uses data to promote equality and diversity. Raluca Christen-Sessions addressed developing software solutions to mitigate unintended bias in algorithms, and we're acutely aware of that after the recent A-level and GCSE debacle. I attended Anna Vinyals and Simon Burgess's session, who took us through a really rounded, nuanced analysis of educational inequalities in the context of COVID-19. There are sessions on vital topics like work and gender. And later this morning, I'm going to be at the session on migration statistics. All of these are relevant. So in the coming months, we will be working with our sections and special interest groups to identify and promote statistical research that tackles pressing issues of equality and diversity. We also hope to work closely with the Office for National Statistics to identify the new investments in data that are necessary to understand and tackle discrimination in the UK today. So these 4 areas of work will be priorities for me, for the Society, for the remainder of my presidency, but they will all carry on way beyond it. This is a cause that the Society is committed to for the long haul. And so I would like to end by asking you for your help. If equality, diversity and inclusion are causes close to your heart, please let us know, and let us know how you can help. This could be through your work as a statistician. It might be through your involvement in a section or local group of society, suggesting a more diverse set of speakers or topics. It might be through identifying more things the society can do. My email box is full of people saying the society should do this and that. So my response is often, well, how can you help us make these happen? One of my last duties as president will be to chair the Honours and Awards Committee. My first duty as past president will be to chair the President Nominating Committee for Sylvia Richardson's successor. For both of those, I'd love to see a really diverse set of nominations, but that needs you, the people listening to this, to make those nominations. You know about the people that aren't just part of my standard world, besides which I can't make those nominations. So I invite you to join with us in the weeks and months to come and help deepen the commitment of statistics to the cause of equality, diversity and inclusion, so that we can continue the tradition of using statistics to make the world a better place. Thank you so much for listening and enjoy the rest of the conference.